Well, hello everybody. This is Craig Valine, no BS Craig Valine to a few. Today I have a very special guest, my good friend Maurice DiMino, and let me tell you a little bit about him. His name is Maurice DiMino. He's an award-winning speaker, author, mentor. He helps business owners, entrepreneurs to create and deliver their million-dollar message so they can grow their business, increase their bottom line, and create raving fans. In 2004, Los Angeles Toastmasters voted him Best Speaker. The TED organization recognized him as an outstanding speaker, and in April 2013, he became a TEDx speaker at San Diego State University. His clients include Microsoft, the U.S. Navy, Chinook Group, IBM, Los Angeles Food Bank, along with other corporations and organizations. And whether you are presenting to 5, 50, or 500 people in someone's living room, boardroom, or convention center, you are going to be asked to talk about your product or service. Maurice's easy-to-use techniques show you how to create a profitable, passionate, and powerful message every time. You can keep up with him on Facebook and his website, which we'll give at the end of this video, at the end of this interview. And you can find him at mauricedimino.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Maurice DiMino. Maurice, welcome.
Pleasure to be here, Craig. Thank you so much.
Good, good, good. So, Maurice, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this business, and basically what you do.
Well, prior to getting into this business, I was in the business. For the last 10 years, I've been a platform presenter, showing the people their million-dollar message. Prior to this, I was in the business of sales. I mean, for over 25 years, I was in sales, selling everything from on-air time to medical billing software, to my last position, selling and renting post-production equipment, editing equipment to the film and TV studios here in Los Angeles. And if you are familiar with that equipment, it's all computer-based. And Craig, as you discovered to start up this interface, I have difficulties when it comes to the computer world. And here I am selling this high-end computer equipment that I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I mean, you know, you had HD, SD, 720p, 1080i, JBOD, iBot. Oh my gosh, I don't know what the heck I was doing, but yet I was selling this high-end computer equipment. And let me tell you something, back in the day, it had a very healthy price tag. I mean, the entry point was $10,000 all the way up to $250,000 for one piece of equipment. And as you can imagine, no executive producer, no post-super will buy it sight unseen, whether it's from me or my competitors. And each and every one of them asked for a presentation. And this is where I think the rubber met the pavement. This is where I realized that, guess what? This is it. If I didn't present my message well enough here, I was never going to get them again. This was the point, even for myself, my colleagues, even for my competitors. I know that when people were looking for equipment, they were bidding it out, and they were getting presentations probably throughout the competition. So I realized that, you know what? My message had to count. I had to make it work. So again, not knowing the equipment, but knowing that presentation, how I present that message was key. You know, as they say, there's that old adage, content is king. So I study with the best of them, you know, from anywhere from Tony Robbins to Zig Ziglar to Jim Rohn to T. Harv Eker to Jack. I mean, I could go on and on and on of all the shoulders of the giants that I stood on and, trust me, invested in well into the 6 figures. But let me tell you something, that investment turned out to be a gold mine, because what I did is I developed a template so that when I was in front of these key decision makers, when I was in front of my key prospects and they were ready to hear my message, I was able to make it informative, I was able to make it entertaining, as well as I was able to make it that there was a call to action. In other words, by the end of it, they could make an honest and a fully realized decision and get their signatures on the bottom line. In fact, because of that, I was doing over $1 million worth of business, and that's per month. I was known as a $1 million man. Why? Because when it came to that very important juncture where people were going to make that decision, it was how I presented myself. It was the message that I conveyed to them that convinced them. And you know this, Craig, that, you know, before people buy the product, they buy the person. So yeah, you better believe it. Yeah, so I knew this, that for myself or any business, how we presented ourselves. Are we clear? Are we concise? And I think what I add to the mix, because of my background, is that call to action. Is that getting that signature? Is making the dollars? Is it really generating not only clients but raving fans, so that more money comes into the door? So from there, doing quite well. And then, as fate would have it, a good friend of mine says, "Hey, what are you doing Thursday?" I love telling the story. What are you doing Thursday morning? Because I fell in backwards into this thing. What are you doing Thursday morning at 7 a.m.? I said, sleeping. So he said, why don't you come to a meeting? And Craig, that's all I knew. That I was going somewhere at Braemar Country Club in Encino, Tarzana, California. I went to the meeting, and it turned out to be Toastmasters. Well, I fell in love with that. A year later, I was voted, as you said, the best speaker here in Los Angeles. I went on, then my whole career shifted. I just love the idea of, again, presenting yourself. How's the best way you could present yourself in all different situations, not only on the platform on stage, but in person, offline, online, just running the gamut. It just totally fascinates me. So to this day, for the last 10 years, I am a platform speaker. I work for one of the top seminar companies in the nation, national seminars. I travel, my gosh, my schedule, I'm out on the road practically every other week, so I'm testing everything that I teach people, as well as I develop my own programs and all that. And I hope that it comes across that I absolutely love what I do. I love showing people, demonstrating it, and showing them how to create their $1 million message.
For sure. You mentioned something during that introduction a little bit, that you invested well over 6 figures in your education on how to communicate more effectively. I think Cabot Robert, who is the founder of the National Speakers Association, he says school is never out for the pro. So I congratulate you on knowing that you truly are a pro. One other thing you said, which it's like, if I were going to say, why are you here telling us how to develop a $1 million message? Well, you just said, right? You're the $1 million man. You sold $1 million worth of products and services for your company. So I think you've established yourself as someone who is qualified to be here to tell people how to, or instruct them on how to develop their $1 million message. So I'm going to go right into this because I want people to know why they're here and why this is beneficial to them above and beyond what you just shared with us. So what is the big problem that entrepreneurs, professionals, business owners, what is it that they face when it comes to delivering their message? What's the big problem?
I think they have a disconnect between themselves, the product, and more importantly, their prospects and their client. I think it's a love affair, if you don't mind me saying it this way. They fall in love with their product, they fall in love with their idea, but is it going to serve a need? Is it going to solve a problem for the public at large? And I'm going to say this, I believe that each and every one of us, we do have that message written in our hearts that the world is waiting to hear when it comes to our product and service. But are you presenting the correct message? Are you presenting, as I affectionately call it, the $1 million message? Are you not so much telling the people what you do, but are you solving a prospect's problem? There's a certain way to deliver content. I don't care if you're doing a 140-character tweet, to a blog post, to writing a book, to presenting a bid, or even up on stage. It's how you present your message to your audience, to your prospect, that's going to make a difference to your bottom line. I've seen a lot of people, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Craig, because of your events, you have speakers come in. They come in, and let me tell you something. They knock it out of the park, right? They're entertaining, they're informative, but yet nothing happens in the back of the room. Back of the room is the sales. Well, I believe this. They are just coming across with a message that is just on the surface level. Yes, it's informative. Yes, it's entertaining. But are they giving me why I should invest in you? Have they made that connection between the problem that I'm having as a prospect, whether I'm a financial advisor, a chiropractor, an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, or I work for somebody? Are you solving the problem that I'm facing? So what I realize is that that's the biggest hang-up, that we got to separate ourselves from what we love and what we need to do. And I think what we need to do is create a really compelling, concise, and a call to action message so that we can convert those prospects into clients.
Yeah, and it starts with, it doesn't matter what the action is that you want them to take. Number one, it's knowing that you you're communicating in a way that they know you're the one who can solve the problem for them. And number two, they know what action to take because it's been clearly delivered via the message, whatever that is, whether it's in person, out of your mouth, whether it's in writing, whether it's in a video, whatever it is, whatever media is being used. That person receiving the message, number one, knows that you, the person delivering the message, is the right person to solve their problem, and number two, they know what action to take following that. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, definitely. Also part of my background is I lived in New York City. I worked on Madison Avenue, one of the top advertising agencies, Darcy, Macy's, Benton and Bowles. And let me tell you something. We had no grand illusion that when we showed our 30 or 60-second spot, that people were just going to run out of their living rooms or their bedrooms to buy our product. So what we understood was consistency of message. In other words, when that viewer, when the listener, or better yet, let's call it what it is, when that prospects needed our product or service, we wanted to create TOMA, top of mind attitude. So when they were thirsty, when they wanted a breakfast cereal, when they wanted a headache pill, or a detergent for their laundry, they thought of our product first. And guess what? I believe that today's entrepreneurs, they got to think the same way that the big guys think, about creating that consistency of message. Yes, I know that you love your product and you know that's going to work for everyone. But again, who is your audience? Designate your avatar. That's a new word now. What's your avatar? And what is the problem that your product is going to solve? And not only that, every time you go out, now here's the key. Every time you go out, from a tweet to a post to even a Facebook post, every time you go out, you got to have that consistency of message. You know, I bring up the whole campaign, if I may, of Miller Lite. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, and they still do it every now and then, you know, taste great, less filling. Taste great, less filling. Now, if you remember, there was a series of commercials that started with big, brawny guys saying it. Then it slowly evolved. I don't know if you remember, the one that probably every guy remembers is when those two girls start fighting. They end up in a fountain, a pillow, you know, having a pillow fight. Of course, it's every guy's fantasy, yelling, "Taste great, less filling." Right. Now again, in those series of, now listen to this, in those series of commercials, it was different content. In other words, different words were being used, but yet there was a consistent message being sent. Taste great, less filling. Who? Miller Lite. So that's what I want today's entrepreneur, today's solo entrepreneur to understand, that every time they go out in public, and it could be one-on-one, networking events, you know, how are you using your, as I call it, your verbal business card? How are you using your tweets? How, I mean, even, again, in person, one-on-one, one-to-many, are you delivering that consistency of message so that, yes, when the prospect does face that problem or does face that concern, they think of you first?
That's great. So what, you know, one of my number one marketing formulas for communicating to my prospects is called the problem, agitate, solve formula. So what's the big problem? Agitate the prospect to hit them in the heart and tell them, if you don't do something about it, this is what's going to happen. And solve is, hey, I have a solution for you. So here's the big problem. Agitate, kind of screw the knife in the heart, and then here's the solution. So let me put the agitate part here. What's the consequences to the business owner, to the professional, to the entrepreneur, if they don't get their message down, if they don't deliver it well, whether in person, in advertising, in any way? What's the consequences?
Well, I think they got to read the writing on the wall, and we all know this, that like 90% of startups fail within the first year, and then well, I think it's 50% in the first year, and then in the fifth year it's like 90%. And again, I think the reason we're seeing such fatality, if I could use that word, the reason we're seeing such fatality in the entrepreneur world as well as the solopreneur, the go it alone business owner, is I do believe this: are they delivering the content? Again, are they delivering the content to their prospects in a clear, concise way? And not only that, is it understandable, and as well as it consistent? And let me tell you something. My biggest belief is that, and what's confusing the matter, Craig, is again all this that's surrounding us. We have so many different tools and so many cool little gadgets we can get. We could hang out, we could webinar jam, we could tweet, we could do this, we could Pinterest. Oh my gosh, we have so many vehicles now. So guess what? It's actually an illusion. And I'm going to say this. It's an actual illusion to an incoming entrepreneur that, oh my gosh, I could play in the world of the big guys, right? All these big guys are using it, so guess what? I can use the same tools that they're using. But let me tell you something. They probably have a committee coming up with a 1 or 2 word slogan, phrase. Let me tell you something. In a 30-second commercial, you have anywhere from 78 to 99 words to use in that 30 seconds. Let me tell you something. They have teams working on those words. And let's be honest. A person sitting in their pajamas in their makeshift home office, all of a sudden they're going to come up with this grand things. Again, they're just going to come up with this surface area. As you said, and I love templates. That's a great template that you have. Problem, agitate, solution. And again, I'm a big believer in templates. Are they following a schematic? Are they following a formula so that it's easy? And that's the idea. Trust me, the big guys are using a formula. There's a formula out there that, in fact, I adopted into my template. Why? Because that's what we used on Madison Avenue. And that's, I think, the biggest fatality of them all. We get this grand illusion that we're going to be successful. We have all these different avenues of reaching people. But it's funny, Craig, why is it that all these different avenues, you name one, it depends on the content you put into it. Right? I could be on every single platform. I forgot how many different platforms there are in social media. I could be on every single platform. Every platform, when it comes to my business, runs on content. And my question is are you putting crap on, or are you putting content on? And that's where we see such fatality in our world.
Yeah. One thing I teach is the concept of leverage, and that is testing your message. Basically, when it comes down to it, if you're running an ad, if you're emailing, if you're posting on social media, if you're standing up at the podium at a networking event, is you can say one thing and that might generate X response, but you can just twist it just slightly different, so now it reaches more people because you said something more benefit stated, more direct to the problem that's really at hand, more of what you do, etc., and you can get triple X result. So so basically, as far as I attended your event last May, and I was amazed that people working on their message and how it refined over the weekend. And really, what it comes down to is you have to keep practicing. You have to keep on testing it until you get it right, till you get the response. Because really, communication is the response you get. So if you say something and no one responds, then you're not communicating. Yeah. You agree with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. That reminds me of a fact. As I said, I'm a contract speaker for one of the top seminar companies out there, and you talk about practice. I think here's another falsehood. Practice makes perfect. Wrong. Practice should make progress. Every time you practice, you should check your progress. A case in point, I am supposed to sell for this company. In other words, their products. During the 1 day or 2 days that I do their presentations, I am required to do a back of room presentation. Well, I remember one time going in, I said, okay, you know what? I want to try this new technique that I learned. I'm going to insert it right here at this particular point, and let me see how my sales do. Well, my sales were going fine up until that point, and I wanted to supercharge it. Right, here's this new technique that I just learned. Well, I delivered this technique, and Craig, my sales went to 0. So now, what was good about this, and this is what I say, again, you want to learn from somebody that's doing it. Did I have to wait 6 months later for my next event to do it? No. The next day at the next city, since I'm a contract speaker, I was going to deliver the same content. And guess what I did? I removed, just like you said, to test it, I removed that new thing that I tried, and sure enough, my sales came back. So I think that's what kind of distinguishes from other people in that I'm still out there. I'm still, hitting the ground. I'm still testing everything that I'm working on, and that's the idea. Are you testing it? Are you, I thought you were going to say split tests. I hear so many different gurus talk about split tests. And I bet if I went to test and quiz every entrepreneur out there and say, hey, you just put out a sales letter. Did you do a split test? I'm going to say 9.9 out of 10 probably didn't.
Right.
So again, it's are we practicing? Are we getting out there with our message, and are we checking? Are we evaluating our progress? And that's what I love about you. When you have your events, you always check in on your people, see how they're doing, and again, what's that simple adjustment? What's that simple little turn of the knob that could really make a difference in your business? And I think that practice does make progress.
I'm doing it every single month. I see what works, what doesn't work, and it goes to get, what gets people to the event, what gets people to get involved at the event, what gets people to sign up at the event. I'm constantly testing that. And, if I go back to what was working, 3 months ago, it's like I'll go back to that, because you always have to be testing, and you have to rely, in advertising, this, it's like, there's a control. And you always want to try to beat the control. The control is the thing that's working. That's the result that's working. Okay, how can we beat that? And if you can't beat it, well, that's okay. But at least you've got to be testing all the time, testing the message, see if you can get a better result, get more people to respond, get the right people to respond, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, excellently stated. Let me ask you this: give some examples of people that you've worked with, either directly as a coach at your events. Different types of people, maybe different types of industries who have benefited from this core concept.
Well, if I may, I love to use the Adriana Rio of the Rio Backpack. Here's a woman that started a philanthropy from her kitchen top table, providing backpacks to underprivileged children here in the Southern California area. Now, I know entrepreneurs say, what does that have to do with me? Well, let me tell you something. I think when it comes to a cause, that's actually a harder sell than to sell me a product or service. At least you could show me the product, or I could understand the service. But to give you money for a cause, and Adriana was doing this for about 3 years. She did about 600 backpacks at $40 each. In other words, the donation was $40. For every $40 you gave, a backpack, a fully loaded backpack with school supplies, went out to a child. She came to my event, and again, the idea of creating that profitable, passionate, and in her case, powerful message. When I saw her 6 months later, after coming to my event and learning the template, I said, Adriana, how you doing? She said, Maurice, we did over 1,000 backpacks. 1,000 backpacks in a 6-month period. You know what that means? That's $40,000. Now, I'm going to ask any entrepreneur out there, any solopreneur out there, would you like to make an additional $40,000 in the next 6 months? And I believe this is that I said, Adriana, how did you do it? What stage did you walk on? I love this part. How did you do it? She goes, well, I didn't step on any stage. I says, well, then how'd you do it? She says, well, I did it online. Oh, Twitter, Facebook? No, I did it online at Starbucks, at the grocery store. As I was standing online, I would start a conversation with somebody. I would go into like a mini template that you showed me, and by the end of the conversation, they were opening their wallets and handing me their donations. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to talk about how to deliver your message from the stage. I'm just here how you are delivering your message. Another gentleman, Michael Bernard, a financial advisor. Now, I don't know if you know, but in the financial advisor world, their hands are tied when it comes to delivering their message. They could only say it in a certain way, only certain jargon. Well, he came to my event, and yes, he had a little bit of difficulty of finessing the template with his world. But once he was able to do it, he was able to come up with a 5-minute presentation, a 10-minute, a 20-minute, a 50-minute. Why do I say those numbers? Again, 5-minute for the networking event, 10-minute when he's out about, 20-minute when he's speaking at service organizations, and 50-minute when he's doing a lunch and learn. So from my template, he developed all these different size messages, and he said that over a 2-year period, he doubled his income. And even though his hands were tied, he was able to double his income, and he's looking forward to the next year of even doing better numbers than he did this past year. So again, your message, I'm a big believer, your message does affect your bottom line. How are you presenting yourself? And I'm saying, even if you're standing online at a Starbucks, standing on stage at a major conference, or being yourself on your Facebook profile, or when you're tweeting, or putting out a blog post. So those are just examples of how, by creating your $1 million message, You put out that investment, and look what comes back in return. Double, triple the money coming back in. So that I am very impressed with my clients.
Yeah, what I noticed at your event last May was there was a diversity of people in the group. There were coaches, there were insurance people, there were financial advisors, there were stockbroker or people interested in stocks. There were speakers. There was a variety of people, and there's a tendency for people to say my business is different. And every business is the same fundamentally. I mean, it's a business, you may sell a different product, but ultimately it runs on the same thing. And one of those things that you have to be able to do is be able to communicate what it is you do, what problem you solve, why you. You have the template. And if let's just go there. Tell me a little bit about the template that you teach your members.
Sure. What the template is it's a combination of all the years from my mentors, of what I tried out on the field, and all the way going back to Madison Avenue. Let me tell you something. Madison Avenue has studied this. There's a science to this. So I come. You know how they say everything stands for something. Well, I believe that everything adds up to something. I believe that because of my varied background, it has brought me to this point to develop this template. So you're going to see all different concepts, all different psychological techniques that are working within the template. And what it is, it's a 26-point template. Give and take a point that you could use or not use. And what it does is, again, I don't want to change you. I don't want to change your content. I don't want to change your product. All I want to do is take your message, take your content, and just put it in a logical order that the prospect can follow, that they could learn from it, that they're engaged. Not only that, here's something key. Even though I'm speaking to you, and again, just like Adriano Rio, even though I'm speaking to you online at a Starbucks, I am allowing you to experience my product. And there you have it. It's the old puppy dog technique. Give the kid the puppy dog for the weekend. You're going to sell every single puppy dog in your place. So how do you go about, even online or offline, how do you go about having people experience your product, even if it's for 5 minutes? And that's what my template allows you to do. It's an easy, proven formula that you just follow these 26 steps. It lines it up so that you engage the people at the beginning. You tell them why you're the expert, and then you go into your golden nuggets, the body, and during that body, I don't care what you know. You got to let your prospect experience it, and just like you said, experience a little bit of pain, a little bit of joy, and how your product will solve and give you that joy. And then there's got to be, and this is where the rubber meets the pavement. I don't call it the close, I call it the bookstore. And we got to be clear and concise with our call to action. We see sales statistics over and over again, how the majority of people, I remember listening to Brian Tracy, another one of my mentors, Brian Tracy. They did a study of these all-state insurance people and how they would go out and do like 20 presentations and only one time ask for the sale. And it's ridiculous. And not only have they forgotten to ask for the sale, but we forget that we have to go out and with our prospects anywhere, and in my world we call it touches. We need anywhere from 70 to now, listen to this new number now, anywhere from 7 to 30 touches, up to 30 touches with our prospect before they even acknowledge that we exist. So what my template does is that it lowers that resistance, it introduces you as the expert, and in a quick, easy way has the prospect experience your product, go and just demolish all objections, and at the end, I like to say it's almost like a hidden close, a hidden call to action, so that you are not taking them from prospect to client, but you're taking them from prospect to raving fan. And that's what we want. We want people to become raving fans, and my template allows them to do that.
Well, there's two reasons as far as I'm concerned that occurs, and I think you're absolutely right. 30 touches. Number one, no one trusts anybody anymore because we've all been deceived by businesses, by the government, by everybody, by charlatans, and so it takes a lot longer to build that trust these days. Number two is there's so much media grabbing people's attention that they've got a consistency of message, right? we have to be in front of them as well. It's like building a relationship with a friend that we just meet for the first time. It's building a relationship with someone that we want in our lives for the first time. You don't meet someone and then get married the next day. It takes time to build upon that relationship where there's trust, where there's confidence, where they feel that we can be part of their lives. And by the way, right, this is what I teach, and I know you do too, is that this is not, we're not just speaking to do a transaction. We're not just speaking to make a sale. We're speaking and delivering our message to solve a problem, but ultimately to create a lifelong relationship with them for as long as they need our help. So it's so important that we do have that touch. So those 30 touches, that has to happen. It takes that long to build that trust so that we can have that run, because the profitability happens over a lifetime, not in a sale.
But I do have to add this, and I totally agree with you. But again, I do believe it's that initial contact, that first impression. Be it when you're at a networking event and you got your 60-second commercial that you got to do, or let's say you're doing a lunch and learn, or you're putting on a presentation. It's that first impression that's going to make or break your business.
Oh,
Why?
absolutely.
Because there's only two impressions somebody can make: a positive one or a negative one. And it's very difficult to turn around a negative first impression. So by using my template, not only for the multiple touches, but it's that initial touch. Again, going back to my world in Madison Avenue, we knew this, that we had only one shot to do it. Even though we had a series of commercials lined up, if that first time out didn't hit it out of the park and we engaged our audience, they were never going to engage with us again. So this is my question to you. When you first go out there, when you first initializing, every time you're introducing yourself to the public, are you delivering that message that is going to be clear, it's going to be concise, it's going to be consistent, and not only that, it's going to be informative, and that you are the trusted person to believe in. So that when we do deliver those consecutive messages, we're not fighting against a negative first impression. We're going down on a upward spiral here on a positive first impression.
Absolutely. And that impression is a powerful image, if you will, because that impression has to last. You can make a good impression or a bad impression. You can leave a good memory of you or a bad memory of you. And by the way, every impression after that will build upon the first impression. So yes, absolutely. So you know what? I know that you put on this live event called Discover Your $1 Million Message. I know you also have some coaching groups. Talk about how you work with individuals, either individually or in a group setting.
Sure. Well, I have my two signatures events every fall and spring, or spring and fall in the Los Angeles area, where we go through the template. And what I like to do is, I consider it semi-private. It's just me and 50 people. I don't believe in the 400, 2,000 type of thing. I want to be able to interact and have the audience interact with me. So during these, I call them intensives. During these intensives, we go through the template. And what I like to stress is this, which I think what makes my event unique, is that I'm not just giving you my theory. I could care less if you know my theory. What I want to know is, what are you going to do with the template? And as you made mention, you saw it firsthand that people are crafting their message right then and there. In other words, again, taking their content and just do a good old plug and play into the template, and by the end of those 2 days, they have crafted their $1 million message. I mean, I've seen people attend the intensive. Why? Because either that next week or the next month, they have a key presentation that they have to give, or maybe they're introducing a new product, and they want to make sure they have their $1 million message present.
Well,
from there,
Maurice, and you let them rehearse it there. They get to practice it in front of the room. You do games. You do table exercises, everything. So they're not just kind of getting theory and getting a template and then go off into the world. You're letting them rehearse it there. So the moment they do leave, they feel confident that they can deliver it, right?
Oh, yes, and I have to thank, again, another one of my mentors, Anthony Robbins. He taught me, Maurice, make sure that your participants never leave the place of learning until they apply. So you better believe it. I'll teach a segment of the template. And what they'll do is, at their tables, I call it crafting. I don't call it writing, I call it crafting. I want them to take that portion of the template and take their product or their service and now plug it into the template, write out what I just taught them. And then at their tables, they're going to share with each other. So again, I call it wrapping their tongues around it so that they get a run at it. And then what we'll do is we'll bring a person or two to the front of the room, and then you get to see me coach someone live right then and there in according to their content, as it compares and as it works within the template. So it's very interactive. Again, I believe that I want people to walk out with their message. I could care less that if they have my theory. Yes, I want them to have the template, but I want them to have their message crafted. And I say this: if by if by Sunday by 5 o'clock you don't have your message crafted, I'll be happy to give you a refund.
Yeah. So how else do you work with these people? So for instance, do you coach one-on-one? I know you have a master class. So like if people want to go beyond that, how do they work with you?
Well, I have a series. Once you do the intensive, then you move into the master class or the virtual master class, and that's more one-on-one. And what we'll do is on the phone or in person, I'll work with you. And again, I like to say I'm a hillist. I'm creating a new word here. I'm a hillist, relating to Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich. The idea of having a mentoring group as well as having an accountability partner. I think another thing that entrepreneurs face is that idea of accountability. You know, we go through life from 4 years old all the way up to 21, 22 years old in the formal education of having someone stand in front of us and tell us exactly what to do, what to think, and all that. And then once we go out on the world, especially an entrepreneur, we don't have that accountability person. We don't have that backstop to check in. So with my master class, not only is it a training portion, but it is also accountability. And it's amazing the results that I see that people have achieved. Why? Because somebody held their feet to the fire. I know some people are like, oh, I don't want that. Well, then how are you going to make that difference? You know, I always say to people, compare the income that you get now on what income are you getting right now on a monthly basis? What would you like to get? Now, whatever that difference is, that's your opportunity cost. And how much of that opportunity cost are you throwing down the drain because you don't want additional training? You made mention of a great mentor. Jim Rohn talks about how a formal education gives you a job, a self-education gives you a future. Yeah. So it's about investing in yourself, and that's what the masterclass is. I allow people to invest in themselves, work with me one-on-one, to take their message to full fruition, and finding various ways of getting it online, offline, in person, or on stage. Right. Now I do have singular coaching where I have corporate clients coming in either with a corporation or the individual themselves, and I truly just work one-on-one with them. Either I go to their office or they come to my home, and I'm just working with that one person because either they have a multi-million-dollar contract up or a huge event coming up in their career that they want to make sure that they're doing the best. So I do work solo, one-on-one.
Excellent, excellent. So you have a live event coming up soon. Tell us about that, and if people are interested in getting involved, what do they need to do? Give us some details.
Sure. What's coming up is my next intensive, my next Create Your $1 Million Message intensive, which will be October 18th and 19th here in Los Angeles at the Woodland Hills Marriott. Beautiful location. Again, it's just going to be 50 people max. I want to make sure that there's that touchability between me and the individuals. When you visit us online at mauricedimino.com/$1 million message, you can find out more about it. And it's $1,000 per person. Again, because of I rate anywhere from $200 to about $300 per hour working with these corporate clients, and you get to work with me on a semi-private basis. So what I like to do is I like to invite people to come out to our next intensive, which is October 18th and 19th this year, 2014, at the Marriott Woodland Hills. Go to mauriceDiMino.com/$1 million message, all one word. And if I may, Craig, I'd like to do this, since you're watching this telecast, if they use the coupon code EARLYBIRD, this is what I like to do. I believe that fast action deserves fast rewards. So by acting real quickly, I'll still give you the early bird discount to $197 per person. So wow. Yeah, and again, the reason I do that is why? Because I'm trying to light a fire under people. I want to see if people take it. Because let me tell you something. If somebody's making $40,000 in a 6-month period, if somebody's doubling their business in over a little bit over a year, wouldn't it be worth it to take that opportunity cost that you're just throwing away and take it and invest in yourself and starting to see a difference on your bottom line? So I think 197 is a great incentive as a way to saying thank you to you and the people watching this, as a great incentive to, guess what, to pick up that opportunity cost. In other words, where you see yourself on the bottom line, guess what, it's achievable. How do you achieve that? By creating your $1 million message. So I invite each and every one of you to come join us October 18th and 19th. Go to MauriceDiMino.com/$1 million message. That's what I want to create for you that weekend. Use the coupon code EARLYBIRD and just come on in for 197, and guess what? You still have the money back guarantee. And I say this, if you haven't crafted your message by 5 o'clock, or let's say by Sunday at 5:01, you can come up to me and say, Craig or Maurice, I didn't learn anything new here. I'll give you your money back. I'll give you your whopping 197 back, and I'll be happy to do that.
I would be shocked if I heard someone say that to you. They didn't belong there in the first place if they didn't get anything from it, because you run a spectacular event. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's energetic, it's full of content. So my advice to anybody watching this is attend. I mean, for 197, I mean, I almost like I'm shocked that it's so low. So there's no excuses not to attend. So Maurice, we have to wind down right now. If people want to reach you, if they want to contact you, if they have questions, and again, just repeat your email address and maybe your website one more time. How can they reach you?
Well, it's real easy. If they do go to MauriceDiMino.com, they'll see one of my buttons there, one of my navigation buttons, is a free consultation. And what I offer people is this, a 30-minute consultation on, let's take a look at your message. What do you want to achieve in the next 6 months to make a difference? Don't become that statistic. Don't become that statistic of a new business that failed out, that totally crapped out. So go to MauriceDiMino.com. You see it on the screen there. Look for free consultation. Click on it. Fill out the form. And trust me, I'd be happy to do it. Why? Because I believe this, Craig, that each and every one of us, we do have a message written in our hearts that the world is waiting to hear. And being the person that I am, I forbid people to go to their grave with their message still inside of them. I want them to create their $1 million message.
That's fantastic. Well, as always, I love speaking with you, and I love hearing you talk because you're so passionate about this, and you do it extremely well. So thank you so much for making time out of your busy day, busy week. I know that anybody watching this will be happy that they watched it. So thank you again, Maurice.
Pleasure, Craig. This has been a sheer joy. Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you.
Excellent. All right, again, thank you everybody for watching. Take advantage of Maurice's offer. You'd be a fool not to take advantage of that. This is No BS Craig Valine. I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.